Hello everybody and welcome to today's CPG Masterclass series webinar with José Vicente Perez on marketing and student relationship for golf instructors. The series, if you've not been here before, is aimed at PGAs, PGA professionals and industry experts, free of access, to hopefully provide you with some more educational development exercises and discussions. So we hope you do enjoy today's webinar and we hope to see you in the future ones. Before we do get started, if I could just get you all to make sure your microphones are all muted. You are more than welcome to keep your screens on or your videos, but if you just make sure your microphones are muted, that'd be excellent. We will be recording today's webinar as well, so if you do miss anything that Jose discusses, or if you have a student or somebody you want to refer it to, you're more than welcome to, and that will be available on the Masterclass Hub page later today. After the webinar, we will have a short Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please post them in the chat option in the button below your screens as the webinar goes. So if you have any burning questions, please pop them in there before we do get started on the Q&A, and then I'll make sure we get through as many as we can after Jose has finished presenting. So without further ado, development team member, and he's going to be just talking about marketing and student relationship for golf instructors. Jose.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Well, today I'm going to talk about marketing, aimed more to golf instructors, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that have influenced me personally and how I am being able to apply this knowledge to my own business and my own teaching academies. Besides all the training that I had in the university, I did a marketing degree. I also had a big influence outside of the academia, mainly by two guys that I would recommend a couple of books after I finish, mainly by Dan Kennedy and Seth Godin, probably two of the masters of marketing in the world, and people that have changed how we perceive marketing nowadays. So I put here, for me and for a lot of people, what is marketing? Marketing is the act of generating a change on behalf of our students. And when I put there a change, I want you to think about marketing as something that produces a change. I think it was like 13 years ago when I saw for the first time an iPhone. I don't know if you all remember the first time the iPhone was out there. But I remember perfectly, I was at the golf course. I was with one of my friends that had a lot of money at the time, that's for sure. And he saw me the phone, and I was like, what is that? And this is an iPhone. And I was like, what's an iPhone? What is that? And your screen is broken. What happened to your screen? Oh, I dropped it and it broke. And I was like, what kind of phone is that? Well, it's an iPhone. It's like it has internet on it. And internet? Yeah. How much it costs? It was like 900 euros. And I was like, what? You spend 900 euros in a phone? Are you crazy or what? Yeah, but it has internet and it's cool. And now a lot of people I couldn't understand it. Well, I think I was not the only one. A lot of people was not understanding why we were spending so much money on those kind of tools. But now think about the world right now. Everybody has one of those machines in their pockets. And the iPhone and the smartphones have changed the culture of the whole world. And how they did it with marketing, I can tell you that. So marketing make change happen. and we have to do it on behalf of our students, not for our benefit only, but on the benefit of our students. And if there is no change, the marketing didn't work. That's it. So let's start with the marketing plan. This is not like the marketing plan that you will find in a textbook. It's a little bit different and shorter, I guess, because we don't have time for more. The first thing that we have to start is with the golf coach. So we are the product, I guess, we can call it that. And we have to make some questions about ourselves. The first thing is that what kind of change are we trying to make? So we're talking about marketing as our quest to create a change. So what is the change that we're trying to make? Is a new way of coaching? Is how people perceive golf lessons? Is how to attract new people to the golf course? Is are we trying to change society and so they view golf in another way? So we have to stop for a moment and think about what is the change that we're trying to make on our students or on the people that we try to bring to the golf course. The next thing is what is your promise? What are you promising? So at the heart of marketing, every time there is a promise. Billing to marketing is a promise that you will deliver something that people desire. And here examples are like, for example, the promise that a Volvo car does is totally different than a Porsche. What is the promise of wearing Manolo shoes, or I don't know, or using a Titleist Pro V1? So we have to think about what is our promise. If we think about golf, for example, golf instructors, any of you, if you are in social media, what is, for example, George Ganka's promising? Or what is Alistair Spink promising? It's totally different. George Ganka is promising status and looking outside the box. And Alistair Spink, with his program Love Golf, is promising connection. So it's totally different. And we have to think about that, about what are we promising? How good are you? And what are your skills? So what are your tools as a coach that help you make the change that you want to make on your students? And this is probably one of the most important parts because if we are not good, it doesn't matter. Anything, it doesn't matter. And we still talk about being a good teacher as is some kind of bizarre exception or something like that. And I have news for all of you. A lot of people is good out there. It's as good as you or better than you and better than me. So quality is required, but it's no longer sufficient. That's for sure. So your typical 1 hour lesson at the range is not enough. And if you're going to be good at your craft, you have to go farther than that. And if you're not good, then this presentation is not going to help you. So the first thing that you have to do is hone your skills. That's for sure. And be able to demonstrate that you are a good coach. Part of that is your image, and this is important. Once you are good, you have to think about what image are you projecting, because people is not really aware of how much you know or the certifications that you have. I mean, it's cool to put them on your office or at the range, but they really don't know how good you are. Because people really, what they do is scan. They don't study. It's more about this reminds me of something, or so it's more about what is the feeling that the environment that we create has. That's the reason a chiropractor wears a white coat like a doctor. It's not because they are doctors. It's because they want to look like doctors. So that's the reason a Burger King is totally different than a star Michelin restaurant. So appearance has an influence on the perception that somebody has, and we cannot escape that. That's for sure. That's the reason when you buy your new iPhone, it has a nice box that you open, and the feeling that you have is giving you the perception that you have a luxury tool. You don't have a phone like the rest of the phones, and it's very important that you have to that you think about that. So what image are you projecting? Are you looking professional? Are you looking boring, fun? Are you looking, how do you look? So it's very important that you think about that, because perception is reality. And what do we want our students to perceive of our service? And what do we want them to tell others? And the most important thing, does everything that we do contribute to that image? So we have to think first about the work that we do, the change that we want to make, and if everything that we do projects that image. And things that you have to think about when we think about the image. Are we punctual in our class? Are our lessons packed? Or do we have enough space to talk with our students? How do we treat our students? How are our coaching programs? How do we interview our students? How do we evaluate them? How do prescribe what they need? And how do we report? All those things have to be consistent with the image that we want to project. Positioning. Well, positioning is service. So we cannot be everything to everybody. That's impossible. So what do our students need that they are not getting? Let's offer that. And the more clearly you understand the desires, frustrations, and personalities of the students you seek to change, the more efficient you will be. You have to consider the use of the group of people you have to reach, and start with empathy. And empathy is hard. I mean, it's hard because it involves trying to feel the way others feel. It's hard because it challenges you to set aside your comfortable worldviews. You know that we are professionals, so it's hard to put us in the position of our students. And sometimes it's awkward. It's kind of weird, and it's hard because it requires you to imagine what you don't know. So what people believe in, what worries them, what excites them, what they desire will influence their decisions, and we have to account that. So different group of people need different messages and different programs and different things from us. It's totally different. Like if we come back to the beginning where we talk about real life examples, if we think about George Gangas, probably his positioning, his students are looking more about hitting the ball hard, and they are looking for somebody that is cool and is totally different from the rest of it. It's not like the typical 1 hour lesson. And if we put the example of Alistair's ping with Love Golf, their students are looking for a different thing. They're looking for affiliation, for connection. Is a totally different perspective. So when we think about positioning, we have to think about things like my program is for people who believe X, and I will focus on people who want X, or I promise that engaging in my programs will help you get X. So all those things that have to be in account when you design your proposition. So I know all of you are very good teachers and don't need promotion, but we're going to talk a little bit about this part because I think it's important, and also it's part of your program too. So I put up this funnel. The marketing funnels are very, very, very typical in the marketing world. So I put this like an example of will be, for example, in my business, and this funnel is like the journey of a student towards our programs. So at the top, we have the channels to contact new students or people that we meet. And if we go to the second step, we have to the second row, we have the first step. So we can get emails or word of mouth through driver clinics or short game clinics or free analysis, free radar, monthly seminars that we give, or a free first lesson or a demo. Through that, we can get the contact of people. So we can start a relationship with them, and that relationship can open a door to our programs. And this kind of promotion is way more effective than social media or Facebook or on other social platforms. Seems like a shortcut to get promotion because they make it apparently easy to reach people. But it's very important that you think that on those platforms, you are the product because you are paying to reach people. So you don't really have permission to contact people. They do. And you don't own the asset. They do they own the asset. So every author of ideas needs to own their permission asset, the privilege to contacting people without a middleman. So one of the things that I recommend you is that you collect your own data, and that could be through your own web page, like I put there, like through collecting data through clinics or free video analysis or free assessment. So you can start a relationship and you own that data. It's not owned by a platform. I mean, you can use social media, but it depends on which one. I use, for example, YouTube, because YouTube is built to promote you because they make money if they promote you. So that's the reason I use it. But I rarely use Instagram or Facebook because I know there I am a product, and it's gonna be very, very hard to reach my students that way. Every time we do a promotion, when I talk about promotion, I'm talking about this and the communication that we have with our students or the people that we want to start to have a relationship. We have to be aware of the needs and desires that we talked at the beginning. And we have to start talking about the things that solve those problems. So if we are talking about a new way of training, we have to start talking about what kind of things are included in a good training. For example, we can do it in videos or we can do it in articles. And then we can talk about how there is a source, that is you in this case, that offers a program that includes that kind of that kind of training. And then the student obviously have to accept the value and the price. If we have done a good job, we won't have any problem with that. And we have to make it easy to find reasons to act now, to come to us, so we can help them get whatever they want to get. Our students' rule. Well, I read in one of the books of Dan Kennedy one thing that I was I thought it was very funny. It was like retention is the new acquisition. Your most valuable assets are your students, so you have to take care of them. And in the same book, I found this that I thought it was extremely interesting. So why do we lose students? 1% die, 3% they move, they move to another place. 5% follow the advice of a friend or family member and change. 9% change for price or because they want a better service. 40% changes because they are not satisfied with our service. And 68% because you are indifferent, because you don't care. And I love this phrase. The client does not care what you know or offer until he knows that he cares. But so it's very important that we communicate to our students that we care about them. And that gives us the door to this. If we wish, we can intentionally create a culture. So a culture is more important than anything, than the strategy, the price, the benefits, the features of a program. If we are able to create a culture, that's more powerful than anything. Because that creating a culture is an opportunity to build trust with our students, to put people together with similar goals and worldviews. And things that we have to think about when we try to create a culture with our students is understand first the culture that we seek to change. Is first understand our students. Where are their views? Where are their needs? And what do they want? And focus on building a story that resonates with them. How do we build that story? Through seminars, through weekly advice, newsletter, tournaments that we do for them, golf trips, golf programs, family events, new products. All of this gives us the opportunity to communicate to them and to communicate in a way that gives us the chance to change them for the good, not for our benefit. That's very important to think about that. And you do people a service when you make things better, and you make them easy to talk about them. Obviously, the reason someone talks about you is because they are actually talking about themselves. And that's very important that you think about that. It's a lesson that I learned very, very fast. When they talk about you, is because they really say, look how good is my taste, or look how clever I am there and in this program. So we spread the word when people spread the word when it benefits them, when it benefits their taste or their standing or their desire for novelty or for change. People is not going to spread the word because it's important to us. It's because it's important to them, because it can help them reach their goals, or because it permits them to tell a story that they are proud of. So there's a way to earn trust is through action, because people remember what you did long after they forget what you said. And I leave you with two questions that I hope your students ask is, will I tell my friends about this person? And if I tell them, why will I tell them? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Jose. I hope you all enjoyed that. I certainly did. Before we get started with the Q&A, if you just have any questions, please do post them in the chat. I've seen a few people already put some in there, so I'll work through some of those now for you. So one question from Jose Alonso. Jose, is regarding, is there a sort of trade-off between being too busy and compromising on quality of service?
Sorry, Jose, being too busy and
then compromising on the quality of service. So basically, can you have too many lessons to a point where you're too busy and your service quality or your standards of coaching reduces as a result? Is there a trade-off between the two?
Yeah, of course. Like sometimes we get I guess trapped in a circle where our service start being damaged, and we have to sometimes stop and think about alternatives that we can offer, so we can serve all the people that we want to serve, but maybe in another way. So when we have to think that if we are giving 10 hours a day of lessons, are we giving the same service to the first person that came at 9 o'clock that the person that came last? So we have to think about that.
Okay. A question from Sergio, focusing on the particular channel of social media, is there any that from your point of view that are more essential for the golf instructor, or does it differ depending on what you want to achieve?
I don't understand that one. Sorry, Tom.
Sorry, no, that's okay. That's me. So is there any social media channels that you would recommend or view essential for a golf coach or instructor? Or does it change from person to person?
I think no. I mean, it depends what. I mean, don't get. One thing that I will say is that don't get fooled about the social media stars that you see on Instagram or Facebook, because just a few of them will get there. If you really want to make an impact, start your own blog, for example, or your own videos. I mean, it's not going to happen over time. I mean, tomorrow. It's something that you have to do like in a consistent basis. The difference between a star, the people that is getting a lot of public on social media, and a person that is not, is that they stick there long enough. That's the only reason. And a lot of people just quit after a year. A year is a lot, but after a year, they are like, oh, I only have 1,000 views. Yeah, I mean, I have my YouTube channel since 2007. So that's 13 years. But I didn't do it to get more views. I did it as a service to my students. And that's the difference. So if you want to go on social media and use a platform, do it for your students. Don't do it to get more students, because the students will come for different reasons, but they don't. Just a few students will come because you are a social media star.
I think I'd add to that a little bit as well, Jose. In regards to email marketing, I think something that's quite overlooked by a lot of golf professionals is email marketing and the importance of email marketing as a channel. If you think about it, in some respects, a lot of people have social media, but how many of us have email? And you could virtually find everybody of all ages, demographics, male and female. Email marketing is still a very important part of getting in touch with contacts, generating contacts, and ultimately turning those into customers. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's very important. You have a database of your students and people that maybe is interested in your service, and you communicate with them at least weekly. And yes, it's very important. It's very important, but it's not communicating in the way that you are sending offers. It's communicating in a way that you are useful to them, that you are sending them tips or things that are interesting for them, the things that they want to open. And that's the difference. And this applies the same that I was talking about social media. It's about being constant and being there every week and being there for your students.
So consistency is most important.
Is very important. I will say that one of the most important parts.
Yeah. What do you see, in your opinion, as golf consumers and customers? Is there any changes or trends in what people are demanding from the golf pro now, as opposed to say a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Are there any changes?
I think that there are some people that is changing things in the golf instruction, but we have to think that a lot of the changes have to be moved through us. If we are thinking about the world of instruction, we have to make that change. We are the ones that we have to create new models of learning or new models of coaching, because it's not going to come from our students. Our students, they don't know. If we offer them 1 hour lessons, they will just come to 1 hour lessons. They don't know. I mean, maybe they think that there could be something better, but they really don't know. We are the ones that we have to have empathy and think about the needs of our students and offer them an alternative that will make their life better at the end.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Just looking at some of these questions. Got a question from Manuel related to, instead of your traditional face-to-face coaching product, what are your views on selling something that's through virtual platforms, such as on your mobile phone? So online lessons is probably a good example in that.
Well, it could be a good complement to what you do. Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a growing demand for that in the future, or do you think still you can't get away from the traditional golf coach at a driving range or a golf club?
Well, I don't know, because it's hard to predict the future, but I think because there are so many things that go digital nowadays, people is almost looking for the opposite. Is looking for experience and real life things. So I think our job as a golf coaches, if we are smart about it, we can really give a good service, because people is gonna look for experience more and more. It's not gonna look for a lesson that can be done in front of a computer. So I think it's gonna go that way, but who knows? I don't know.
Okay. Question regarding the current situation. I know with COVID-19, a lot of golf clubs are either closed or close to reopening. At one sort of during this time where perhaps golf instructors or golf clubs are unable to actually sell a product, what sort of tips from a marketing point of view would you give, or advice would you give to PGA pros who are unable to teach at the moment, but can they get ahead of the game with anything?
Well, now is a good opportunity to hone your skills, that's for sure, as a coach. And also it's a good opportunity to connect you with your students. Here, if you have a database, it's obviously easier. But I think everybody right now has at least the phones of their students. So they can communicate via WhatsApp or whatever other means that they can have, or message. But I will try to get education, not only on technique, but on thinking about how to improve your programs, or how to do your golf lessons in a different way that benefits your students. And also communicating with your students in a weekly basis will be good, like with Zoom or with any other means.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. I think it's important to make sure that you find ways to differentiate yourself like you mentioned earlier, you know, how do you stand out? How do you make yourself different, not indifferent? And education is probably very important to that. But also it's about remaining relevant, isn't it, Jose? You've got to make sure that, okay, you're not having lessons with me at the minute, but when some form of normality is returned and people are going to golf clubs, you know, they know that you're there ready for them to coach. And okay, you're not having lessons at the minute, but they will seek those in the future. So it's about remaining relevant, isn't it, ultimately as well?
Yeah, that's the reason the communication with your students is very important. They have to know what you're doing. They have to know that if you're getting education, they have to know it. And I would recommend doing webinars for them about things that is difficult for you to explain, like how to practice. I mean, now all of your students are probably at home, they're sitting, and they will love for you to give them a presentation on how to practice, or about the ball flight, I don't know, whatever. Things that usually you don't have time to do, and they will appreciate it, that's for sure.
Okay, time for one more question from Colin. What would you do if you're going to a new club? So I'm assuming by that, Colin, you mean you've attained a new job at a new golf club. What's probably the most important things to do from a marketing point of view to establish yourself?
In a new club?
I guess so, yeah, that's what it looks like from the question.
Well, I will start playing with the members. That's the first thing. And playing with them, talking with them, and getting their contacts and getting to know their why they play, what are their goals for the year. And through that, it opens the door for you to make programs thinking about the needs that they have. I mean, it's easy. I mean, if you can go play with the members, start doing golf on-course evaluations, and through those on-course evaluations, you can sit down with them and design a plan for improvement and offer them a program that includes that plan. I mean, usually we don't. I mean, the golf teachers don't do that. They just stand on the range and they look at the position of the swing. That's it. But I mean, if you have the opportunity to go to it with your students, do an evaluation, sit down with them, have a coffee, and especially when you are in a new club and you have more time. So.
Okay, great. Oh, I've just noticed we've got one final question from Olajide. You mentioned about a PGA Pro should create an intentional culture with his student. So by creating that culture with your students, how would you incorporate the club's rules and regulations or the club's own culture into yours with your student, knowing full well that each club is different to the next?
Well, when I talk there about the culture, I mean, it can be a culture that is inside the culture of the club. It can be a culture of a new way of practicing, or a way of practicing together instead of separate, or a culture where we do things as a team instead of individual. It could be something it could be in addition to the culture that already exists on the club. It's not something that is apart.
Okay, I hope that answered all of your questions. We'll wrap the Q&A up now. Thank you all for those who did post questions, and for everybody who has attended today's webinar. And then finally, thank you to you, Jose, as well. I found that really, really interesting. It's great. And hopefully it's giving you all a little bit of food for thought to go away with and try and work on yourselves with your own businesses. So that's it for today's webinar. Thank you all for attending. We do have 4 webinars next week. On Monday is related to social media specifically with Emma Ballard. On Tuesday, it's the art and science of wedge play with, let me just check, with Stephen Orr. And then Wednesday is the life after COVID-19 with Jonathan Mannett and Johan Hamp. And then on Friday, it's focused on practice structure with Adam Young. So we'd really appreciate if you could come, that would be awesome. And as I say, the recording will be uploaded onto the hub page after today. So if you have missed anything, you're more than welcome to view it again. Once again, thank you all for attending and hope you have a great afternoon and evening.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Jose.